2:30, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. We have no public comment, I assume. No. Approval of the February 6, 2024 Public Safety Committee meeting minutes. A motion and a second. Motion by Mask. What's that? Second by Wilhelm. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Sorry, I didn't know you were even online. Stacy, are you Supervisor Marash? You're online?
Yes, I am.
All right. All right, with that, 5, policy issues, discussions, and potential committee determination. We have none. 6, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, resolution, or policy. A, consideration of requests to reclassify one full-time accounting position, technical position, to one full-time account position, grade M. And with that, I'll turn it over to the administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just briefly start the presentation, and there's a very nice memo in your packet kind of outlining the history and the reasoning underlying the position request. But I think it's always helpful to start with kind of the ordinances and why is this before you today. And if you recall under Ordinance 4.20, which is the new position request ordinance for the county. Under sub 6 specifically, it talks about the process to be used for reclassifications. And succinctly put, departments are encouraged, as is laid out in the memo, to always be looking for those opportunities to consolidate functions, particularly where there's a certain level of kind of skill or special training, to try to make sure we can be as efficient as possible. And then the second part of that, of those consolidations, is it's really essential to our philosophy of compensation. We pay people for the work they do. And credit to the Sheriff's Office for, they lay out in the memo, kind of this really started several years ago with the planning for the Workday implementation, how to consolidate administrative functions, and then really ensure that we had high quality, skilled staff with accounting or financial background in those key areas. And essentially today what we're doing is reclassifying, asking you to recommend reclassification of one of our existing employees in light of that history. And why it's before this committee is pursuant to subsection 4.20 subsection 6. This is a reclassification under 6B. That is, there is no budget transfer that's needed because of those other underlying efficiencies. We have the funds in the budget through kind of holding open those positions that are referenced and then actually essentially abolishing them. No budget amendment is needed. However, all departments are required to work through not only the the Human Resources Department, but also myself to talk through kind of the plan to make sure it's a sustainable solution, and the Sheriff's Office has done that. So in terms of what governs the request before you today, it is under 6B. It does not need to go to the full board because there is not a budget transfer. It would if there was a budget transfer that would be governed by a different subsection. But there is a requirement that this also be reviewed by your HR, Finance, and Property Committee. So please ask any questions you might have, but that's kind of the underlying process that we're talking about today. If you are in support of this reclassification, you would make a recommendation to move it on to HR, Finance, and Property. And I want to then transfer over to within your packet, there is that memo that I referenced. I won't belabor the point, but other than to say this individual is already doing this work, and the work has been reviewed by HR, Finance, and Property and myself, and it should be reclassed. I mean, the person is doing the work that justifies that move to that accountant level position. Again, I think it's a sustainable solution, not only based on the funding, but also based on the long-term direction. One of the things that I've tried to start to move us toward is a more centralized finance approach. So historically, Marathon County had many finance professionals, and we still do, kind of decentralized, and this is a generalization, but decentralized within a lot of our departments. And that's asking a lot of people as the government accounting standards have continued to be more complex. We really need to ensure we have people that have that background, like this individual with a degree in the financial field. And it's really hard when you have a position, it's really hard to do that when you have a position where that financial piece is just a part of your job. So it's really a good strategy to be more centralized, have that knowledge so we can go out and recruit for the vast majority of the position to be that higher level skilled financial work. So we're moving in that direction. And I again, credit to the sheriff's office throughout the planning for Workday and the implementation to be looking for those opportunities. So essentially it's taking that initial more administrative position and reclassification to the accounting position, similar to other positions throughout the county. So I won't belabor the point. You've read the memo. It pretty much, again, speaks for itself. Again, if you are in support of this, an appropriate motion would be to forward it on to the HR Finance and Property Committee for review. But certainly before considering that, happy to answer any questions. And I know Ryan Weber is here from the Sheriff's Office to answer those questions as well.
So moved, Lamont.
Supervisor Lamont, I think.
Supervisor Lamont.
So moved.
We have a motion and
The
a second.
reclassification.
Any further discussion? Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, 7, educational presentations and committee discussion. A, presentation on the Marathon County Radio Communications Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Captain Ryan Burdall with the Marathon County Sheriff's Office, Communications Division. I'm just going to give you an overview of our radio infrastructure and what we do with it and how we use it. Currently, we have 18 public safety radio equipment towers. Some of those towers are on municipal water towers. Some are freestanding towers, and we do also have one monopole just outside of the dispatch center. With that, we have a portable radio tower that we can use in emergency situations as well. 4 of the locations are owned by Marathon County, or at least the property around it. Those locations are the 911 center, the monopole that I just explained, the Wayside Tower, Juvenile Detention Center, and the Hatley Tower. The rest of the equipment is on water tanks where we do have some leases, as well as a lease that we use with ATC down by North Marshfield to cover the McMillan Marshfield areas. Currently, we are working with Bug Tussle to possibly go on another one of their towers that they're erecting. We do have the ability to have public safety equipment on those towers, as we do the one down in Dancy, where we were basically asked off of the DNR tower. We did partner with Bug Tussle to put our radio equipment on that tower for servicing the Bergen area and Stratford. We do focus on known lack of coverage areas throughout the county. We do have a reporting system in place if our first responders or public safety in general have any issues. That is through our Laserfish program now. It was previously on FormStack, but when those reports come in of outages or service disruptions, those are forwarded to our public safety technology specialist, myself, Lieutenant Gladden, and then our outside Raycom service provider for our equipment. Just a quick background on how those towers are used. They're used for paging fire departments, EMS services, and also having our RF or our regular radio signal to contact dispatch, as well as other agencies or car-to-car situations. With the paging of fire, we also have what's called I Am Responding in our CAD program, which is when we send out a page to our local fire and EMS services, they also get a notification on their phone through a program called I Am Responding. So it's basically twofold. They get a page from a traditional pager, and then also a information on their cellular device as to location of call and minimal information as to what the call type is. Larger agencies in our county like Safer, Wassa Fire, and Riverside Fire use what we have called as a G2 alerting system. I know Chief Deputy Milhausen had asked other departments to possibly go to the idea of the G2 paging. However, it wasn't financially available for those departments to sign up for it. I can't tell you the cost right off the top of my head, but we have tried to encourage the other fire departments and EMS services to look at another solution of this G2. Basically, in a nutshell, is what that is as soon as our dispatch hits the dispatch button, it sends out the tones or the information to respond to the call, also using a cellular network on their phone. Last thing that I'd just like to touch on is the radio pager report that does come to us. That link has been updated to our FormStack link, and we currently look through those when they come in. I know we encourage that our responders, if they are having issues, to submit that form, because it is it is delivered both to our agency as well as the Raycom, which is our service provider. And all those complaints are looked into. I know that we do have those minor coverage areas that we struggle with to get coverage. Some people have asked, well, why can't we put up another tower, right? Well, putting up another tower could damage what the infrastructure currently is. So if we were to just pick a place and say, well, we're going to put a tower there, well, we may go overlapping signals, and at that point, what you're getting is garble on the radio, so you're actually doing more damage than good. With our partnership with Bug Tussle, we are looking into the fact of putting equipment on a minimum of one of their towers, but the issue at this point right now is the tower isn't erected, and we don't have any coverage studies or path studies to basically substantiate whether that location that tower is at is going to be a good fit for our radio infrastructure. So that's kind of the overview, and if you have any questions that I can answer.
This is Administrator Leonard. Just to add, very interesting topic. If you've never heard about radio, probably something on the county board that, if you haven't heard about it, I mean, Marathon County has had challenges. As you all know, we're the largest geographical by size county in the entire state. We also have some topographical challenges in terms of hills, valleys, and again, credit to the sheriff's office on this. Over the last several years, we've really enhanced that partnership. We've moved from, I don't know how long ago we made the change from our previous vendor to Raycom, but that really has been a positive change. Did we just re-up their contract? We put it out for RFP, Ryan, you want to?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah, so.
For another 5 years.
And we really structured that, working with Corporation Counsel and the Sheriff's Office staff to try to keep that technology, which is ever changing and always requires updates, to try to keep it as modern as is feasible. If you've heard there are a number of other counties when you need to do a radio project, a substantial one, you're not talking hundreds of thousands, you're well into the millions of dollars to do that. It's a very complex system that probably many people don't understand as a county function. It also ties in very well to what Captain Berdahl referenced. I think there's some real opportunities with the bug tussle agreement, even if it's not for, perhaps some towers. And I know just enough to be dangerous on the technology, but currently our kind of radio signal microwave towers, the opportunity to have fiber backup to make sure that if we do have an outage, we have a dual system or redundancy. We've really been trying to enhance that because, again, Marathon County being large is one thing, the topographical pieces are another, but we also have a lot of law enforcement agencies and a lot of fire EMS agencies that the sheriff's office is responsible for dispatching for. So that's why I think the presentation's a good thing. We're not going to get into the details, and I think Ryan gave you just enough to show you that this is really important. It would not surprise me if in the next budget we have a very clear CIP project for some enhancements. But either way, you'll probably be hearing more about the radio communications. But certainly happy to pass any questions on right over to Captain Berdahl, because again, I know enough to be dangerous.
So I kind of brought this up because I don't know, people know where I live, but one of the bad areas is the town of Texas. Really bad, actually. And we were having some issues with the paging, which now they did that reporting system you're talking about. They stopped doing it because they said they felt it was doing no good. I said, well, you need to keep doing it so we know that what we have. And I wanted to bring this forward because I want the sheriff's department to bring forward something to the county board at some point saying, here's where the gaps are, here's what we need. So at least we know. If it is a big number, great, but at least we know what that is. I don't know if you guys could fill in a little bit more. I know town of Texas area obviously is one gap. You said there's some over kind of on the western side too, correct? We have a couple?
Yeah, our known areas of issue are the Hamburg area and Texas, township of Texas, and a lot of it has to do with the terrain, right? I mean, even if you're driving through there with your cellular phone, you're going to drop a signal, and it's no different than RF or radio frequency is, you have those issues. I know that, one of the plans with bug tussle is probably in that Hamburg area. Now, why would you say, well, why would you put a tower in Hamburg that it's not going to solve Texas? Well, the possibility is there that it does. But that's where we get into the costly propagation studies and coverage studies.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like Ryan alluded to, it's really interesting. Again, I know very little, but enough to be dangerous. That idea of, hey, just add a tower, but it is truly, if you have overlapping signals, the potential is to be worse. So it's a very deliberate, planful process. And I do think, and certainly Captain Berdahl, I'd like your opinion, but I think our relationship with our current vendor is doing quite well. I mean, I think we have those good ongoing meetings with them to address those issues. So to your point, Chair Boots, if people are having issues, please continue to let us know.
Correct. Chair Boots, in reference to the complaint procedure or the radio pager reports, we recently had an issue down in the Bevent area, and that has been solved as of last week. And again, I'm not going to get too far into the technical because I don't know it all, but there was a voter card issue that was replaced, and now it's working appropriately. Now, we would have known that if we didn't have a pager report from Hatley EMS. I know either last year or the year before, we were having issues with Township of Texas, and we did some further investigation with our service provider, who we meet with every other Wednesday, and we had issues at that tower with filtering. So, we fixed the filtering and got that up to par. So we do see them. We do keep working on it, and it's mentioned every Wednesday in our meetings with Raycom.
And I agree with 100% that a lot of it is the lack of education of what actually is going on, because I'll get comments, well, I can't even get cell coverage. Of course, I'm like, well, that's completely a different thing. But it is kind of, in my mind, it's one of those things where we do everything for safety and we upgrade addresses, something like that. But if I'm in my home right now, down in that valley, or going to my home, I can't even call EMS if I try because your phone drops out. So it's a issue that way. But I mean, that's a separate issue altogether, obviously. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it forward. And like I said, I'm glad to keep working on this. And I did tell them, obviously, I'm like, well, if you haven't said anything to them in a year and a half, how are they going to know? So you got to just keep on, keep sending out those things. So
Correct, sir.
anything, go ahead.
So kind of related. We had a joint meeting, was it Health and Human Services and Public Safety several years ago? Was it, I think that's infrastructure, okay. When all the people in the Western, when Frontier dropped a dime where they weren't going to do any more of the fiber and people were losing their phone service and people were paying all kinds of money to get towers and service of all sorts. And I think that we were having a lot of trouble with our EMS and other stuff too. Has anything changed there? I know that's kind of related. You know what I'm talking about.
So those meetings, again, you're exactly right. I mean, quite a number of years ago, there was concern on the, from the public safety side as well as infrastructure about the decision, and this is my characterization, so, but the decision that was made by Frontier to no longer provide what I'll call is timely service relative to repairing of existing landlines. And that landline infrastructure was, I want to say it's 50-plus years old. I mean, those copper lines. So a lot of issues were occurring, and that was one of the reasons that I believe the board authorized the partnership with Bug Tussle and that bonding that was issued. I do believe that there have been some improvements on in terms of availability of that broadband or high-speed internet access in that area. The towers that are available that Bug Tussle is putting up also, one of the, again, this is my characterization, I think one of the things that was attractive perhaps to the board about that partnership was the fact that the towers would be erected and they would do, as Chair Boots referenced, it's not only for internet service through Wi-Fi that would be offered by Bug Tussle, but it also doubles, it's a cell tower. So those towers would be operated by a cell provider. I think typically that's AT&T that Bug Tussle works with. So I do believe some of those issues have been improved. I know we continue through the broadband task force to get updates from Bug Tussle, and those are provided to the infrastructure committee as well on the process of delivering some of that fiber infrastructure. Admittedly, like many things, my characterization of that is certainly they're behind what their initial schedule was due to all things supply chain and labor shortage. But I certainly think it's appropriate to say that progress is being made. Similarly, Charter is doing a lot of work in the county pursuant to other funding they've received and the RDOF reverse auction process. So short answer, yes, I think things are better. Do I believe that all issues have been addressed? I mean, I don't know that we're ever going to get to a place where we can say everyone in Marathon County has fiber access. It's a big county, and there's a lot of terrain challenges, and in certain parts there's a lot of rock, which rock and boring do not lend themselves well. So. Yeah, again, short answer, yes, I think some of those things, and there certainly are related, like Ryan talked about. I mean, as technology progresses, I think it's really important to have that strong partnership, and I know a number of other counties utilize Raycom, which is a good thing. They have a local presence, which is a much stronger thing than what we had with a previous vendor. So this is, things are better. Are they perfect? No, but I think we do have a good mechanism to address those things as they come up.
Anything further? All right. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to 8, next meeting time, date, and announcements and future agenda items. It's right now saying Tuesday, April 9th, but trying to think, when is the new board sworn in? 16th? So we will have one. Okay, so we will have that one before the meeting. So Tuesday, April 9th at 1:30. If anyone has anything to bring forward, let me know. Move to adjourn.
So we have one more.
Motion made and second, and all in favor. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for meeting a little later. I had a bid due today, so I had to move some stuff. Sorry about that.